Over the last couple years, there's been a tremendous amount of money going into ammo production by the U.S. military. And about a year ago, there was $3.1 billion boost given to the U.S. Army to boost ammo production. So we wanted to take a look at where'd all this ammo go? Like, where did it really go? Why the boost and where did it go? Well, let's start with Ukraine. Ukraine was the number one reason for the $3.1 billion boost in ammo production. And a vast majority of that money went into Scranton, Pennsylvania's 155 millimeter shell production because that's the shell that Ukraine uses the most. It's the one that they're always running short of. When they have talks of having ammo shortages in Europe, they're talking about these larger shells. However, not all of it. And not all of that went to Ukraine either, but a vast majority of it went into 155 millimeter shell production. Massive chunk of it, if not most of it, went to Ukraine. However, what was taking place was the U.S. military was having an ammo shortage, but not small arms ammo, these bigger shells. But they affect each other, and that's kind of something that we've talked about over the last years because they use the same components, just the 155 millimeter shells use bigger components. But as Ukraine was using these shells, it not only depleted the U.S. military's stock on these shells, but it depleted their reserve as well. And that will put the U.S. Army into a very dangerous situation. So $3.1 billion went into boosting production of 155 millimeter shells. Now, in addition to that, billions of dollars also went to Ukraine specifically so they can build a 155 millimeter ammo production facility as well. But a vast majority of that money came from Europe. Now, again, billions have come from the U.S., but a majority of the money needed to do that thing came from Europe. So ultimately, the largest chunk of ammo production boost that the U.S. government gave the U.S. military went to shells that went either to Ukraine or went to replenishing the U.S. Army reserve that was being depleted by Ukraine. But in addition to that, what you also have when it comes to small arms ammo, and here's how we're affected, is you had the new generation of squad rifles coming out, taking on a new caliber. So at Lake City Ammo Plant in Independent, Missouri, where they make the small arms ammo, typically pumping out 9 millimeter NATO, 5.56 NATO, 7.62 NATO, and 50 BMG. Now, this particular plant is operated by Winchester. It's controlled by the U.S. Army, but they have a contract with Winchester to operate it, to take care of the operations of Lake City Ammo Plant. They demolished a building that was running the 5.56 ammo. They put 9 millimeter and 5.56 together in one building, and now they're rebuilding two new buildings and brand new facilities. They're incorporating AI into their production to ramp up production of small arms ammo and the new generation of squad weapons, the 5.56 NATO, the 9 millimeter NATO, the 7.6 NATO, and the 50 BMG. So now ultimately what you have is you have 5 calibers being produced in one particular plant, but they're building new buildings. It's a massive 2,000 acre facility. They have plenty of room. I kind of argued they shouldn't have demolished buildings till they built new ones, but they didn't listen to me. So ultimately what you have is you have this $3.1 billion boost in ammo production for the U.S. military. A vast majority of it going into 155 millimeter shell production going to Ukraine. Secondary is 155 millimeter shell production going to replenish the U.S. military. And thirdly is really creating new facilities in the small arms manufacturing, ammo production in Independence, Missouri, going towards the next generation of squad weapons, 5.56 NATO. That is actually going down. The 5.56 is probably the least of the production right now. For the military, obviously, they're still making it for civilians, and those contracts are being fulfilled. 9mm is the biggest one in the small arms that they're producing, and the 7.62 and the 50 BMG. So there you go. You know, this is something that as the U.S. Army gets rid of the 5.56 M4s and the M16s and replaces them with the next generation of squad weapons, we're going to see the slowdown of 5.56, and that's kind of, I think it's an important note to make right here, because obviously the 5.56 is the most popular sporting rifle in the world, and definitely in North America, let's put it that way. And the second most popular in the world, probably secondary only the AK, if secondary. But again, 3.1 billion going into production. A vast majority of that is going into 155mm shells that went to Ukraine. Now Ukraine is pumping up their own 155mm shells, along with Poland built a new facility that's also feeding Ukraine those. So this boost in production is also going towards the U.S. Army reserves, as well as upgrading the facilities and building new facilities in the small arms ammunition plant in Independence, Missouri, pumping out more ammo, hiring more people, that sort of thing. I'll also add that, you know, living around Independence, Missouri, they're constantly running ads for hiring employees, bullet makers. So production is increasing to such a level that they're short on staff. So there you go. This is a good problem to have. I'm mostly relieved that the situation in Ukraine, as far as the shortage of 155mm shells, is under control, or seems to be under control, at least for now. I did hear a number about 5 months ago that in the event U.S. went to war with China, we'd run out of 155mm shells in 1 week. So I'm glad to see the boost in production. That's a horrible number it's really horrifying just to hear that number, but there it is. So there you go, $3.1 billion boost. Here's where it went. Any thoughts or insight on any of this, definitely put it below, especially that insight. I do want to take a moment and say most people watch the channel, hey, they're not subscribers. Click that subscribe button. It greatly increases the algorithm and our ability to get these messages out. That link is below. But most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests. Please don't ever, ever hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.